Now, we're about to hear from one very creative lady. She's called Mana Lunt. She's an artist who grew up in the North York Moors, and she's used it as a big inspiration for her artwork. And Mana specialises in embroidery. Honestly, look it up. It is phenomenal. That will put a smile on your face. And Mana is passionate about using art as a form of therapy and encouraging others to get creative too, no matter their ability. I've been chatting to her about how she describes herself as an artist.
I would say that I'm an emotive, expressive landscape painter. So I'm impressionistic, and it's all about feelings. And it's always based on the landscape of the moors.
That's where you were brought up. So it inspires everything that you do, I take it.
Yeah, I think that looking back in hindsight, now knowing that I'm neurodivergent, the quietness, I would live on the top of the high moors, so there's no other houses nearby, and the weather's pretty severe, and I was very quiet, so I didn't really have a lot of friends around me or family around me, so the moors almost became that companion. So everything revolves around it. Every day I woke up, I looked out my window, I saw the moors. It changed every day, and that was exciting. And that the same view could be different completely. It was the place that I could go to that would accept me no matter what. So it's more than a landscape. It's a place of acceptance. And I suppose it's family, really.
Yeah. I'm looking at your art now. Oh my goodness. This has put a massive smile on my face. This is joyous. This really is. It's so unique. Okay, let me describe one of them. Because I know that sometimes you find it hard to describe your art. So I'm looking at a lamp, and it looks like you're using stitching. Is that right? Is that the genre you use? And also the stitching on this lampshade is beautiful.
Yeah, I did textile art for a lot of years and became burnt out with that in about 21, 22 and started back to painting again.
Right.
So I'm initially trained as a fine artist and a painter. When I had children, I transferred the medium over to textile art. So I don't know anything about textiles. I purely use it as paint and pencil.
Okay.
I used to use patchwork fabric and hand embroidery, never a machine, to create images. And that could be portraits, animals, landscapes, etc., and still life.
Yeah.
So it had to be hand stitched, not machine, because the noise of the machine would be a problem.
I see.
For me. So it's not a snobbery thing, I don't use machines. I wouldn't know how to use a machine, and the noise, it's all to do with the sensory input that I gain from the artwork that I'm making. So from the materials I'm using.
Honestly, I want one of these lamps, and I know you don't do it anymore, but this is so unique. It's beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, I did it for a long time. I used to do retreats, and we used to heavily do a lot of mental health and mindfulness with the embroidery, because obviously hand stitching is such a mindful and repetitive but therapeutic and calming way to spend your time. So the reason why I transferred from paint to textiles in the first place was because my son was born nearly 18 years ago now, and he had a brain damage, and so I used to have to go to a lot of hospital appointments with him. And so with sewing, you could pick it up and put it in your bag, and I could do that in waiting rooms while I was waiting for lots of tests and things to happen, whereas you can't do that with your sketchbook or your oil paint really very easily. So that's why I transferred to the kind of textiles, and obviously hand stitching was really good for my mental health as well. And then it accidentally kind of all happened from there.
Right. Goodness, honestly, it's just phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. You mentioned how the North York Moors inspires your work. What is it about where you were brought up, where you live, that brings you such joy that you've got to then kind of, I suppose, transfer it to paper?
I love the isolation of it, and the solitude. And people have quite often, especially nowadays, think isolation is such a negative thing. But I don't at all. I find it immensely empowering. It's a place of peace. So looking back, it's very clear now that I was autistic. And so I like the landscape because it is sparsely inhabited. There isn't lots of noise, and the noise that there is gentle and it's natural. It's not electric. Which can bother me. So I get upset by crowds, by noise. They're my two main things. And so it gives me that. It kind of, it's like a womb. It cocoons me. It keeps me safe. It's warm. And I like the fact that there's so many layers. So there's always interest and stuff to look at. You know, there's tiny sparks of colour in the heather in the summer. And then there's layers of burnt peat underneath that, and then there's the branches of the bracken, and then there's just so many layers and colours and areas of interest that it kind of never gets boring.
Yeah.
And those colours from that, they make me feel warm. So I'm quite sensitive to colour as well. So I see an awful lot of colours in the moors, really bright colours, and they speak to me in a way that I can understand when I can't understand people that are talking to me often.
Sure. So that's how your surroundings, the North York Moors, help you. How does art help you?
In hindsight, all of these things are great to now understand why they. Before, I never really could give you an answer. It was just like, well, because I just like art, and I've only ever just liked art, and I just seem to be good at it. But now I understand that I also gained a head injury when I was younger, which gave me an issue with language and communication. So I was quite bright and intelligent, but I couldn't say the words out loud, but I could draw the words. It just became my form of communication. Like now I can get tongue-tied and confused with words, but I could paint you something that would explain to you how I felt. I just see it as a form of communication, and people seem to be able to kind of leave me in peace when I painted. And they understood more of what I was trying to say. So if I'm talking, I'm generally drawing something out to explain something to you. So my language is just more visual than verbal.
Marna Lunt there, an incredible artist from the North York Moors, talking about how art helps her with her mental health struggles. We're going to hear more from Marna. She's got a few ideas for you to get involved as well. No matter your ability, it really will help you boost your mood. This is Blur. It's Happy Monday on today's show. Not Blue Monday, absolutely not. We're hearing from loads of people doing brilliant things that boost their mood. And Marna Lunt is an artist who grew up in the North York Moors. She's one of them. She has been describing how art has helped her through some tough times.
I think it's the process of any piece of art that helps me. There isn't one piece that I resonate more with than anything else. Because they're all part of me, and they're all a snapshot of that minute or that hour that I've been working on it. They're all photographs of my feelings. I know that the piece of work that I'm probably been recognised most for is the Liberty lampshade that I did. I can remember doing that in a time where I felt a bit lost. And I felt that I needed direction. And that was a very specific aim that I had to make that. And that did help, having a goal and an aim to do something for with a deadline. So that's probably...
Wow. I mean, having it, to me, it sounds like, you know, art is such an important part of your life and helps you so much in terms of boosting your mood.
Yeah. It's like breathing. I can't really do without it. That doesn't necessarily, and that doesn't necessarily mean painting. It can be stitching, or it's creating in some sort of way. It could be journaling and using paper and collage. They're generally you can still tell it's me, because I'm still doing everything in the same way and still using the same colours, and but as long as I'm creative in some way. And crochet as well, I really like doing that, and using colours. And I used to bring that into my textile work an awful lot.
For anyone who's thinking, gosh, wow, okay, I need to get involved in doing a bit of what Marna does to boost my mood, where should people start if they wanted to do something like what you do?
I think the most important thing is not to expect too much from yourself, because people give up really quickly when they try something and they're not as good as what they saw on Pinterest or social media, and so they just think they're a failure and then they give up. And that you just need to start. Just get a piece of printer paper, anything that's cheap. Just use your eyebrow pencil if that's what you've got close to you. It's just about making marks and having a go and playing with things. And if you like stitching, just get a needle and just do little stitches and see how you feel about the materials that you're using, but with no pressure. If you put pressure on yourself, there's no joy, and then there's no reason for doing it, because it's like exercise. You have to make it fun. That's the whole point. And setting yourself unrealistic expectations is not going to make you feel great. And it's all about making yourself feel good. So just play and have no pressure.
Have a go. How else do you boost your mood then, Marna?
It's pretty much completely art based, to be honest. I've got a very, very strong hyper focus on art. It'll be from reading art, looking at different pictures to do with, colour, and it can be swatching paint that I have, playing with coloured pencils. If I'm really struggling one day and I really can't function with anything at all, I just get my colour pencils out and just make little circles of colour. Or I mix paint and make different colours and see what happens. And so it's not about painting a picture at all. It's just about seeing the colours. So everything's very colour based.
Marna Lunt there, incredible artist from the North York Moors. If you want to see some of her artwork, just Google her, or just search for online, should I say. She is very, very good. Some of those lampshades that she mentioned earlier on, oh my word, they're amazing. Absolutely amazing.